All right, good afternoon, teachers and students. Welcome to our Skilled Trades Career Panel. I am Lauren Kunze, and I'm your host today. And I have three wonderful professionals who are going to share a little bit more about their career in the skilled trades. So I will give them a quick introduction, and then I will let them introduce themselves and their career path. We will start out with Tim Redfern. Tim is a construction manager with GE Johnson. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Tim Redfern, construction manager with GE Johnson. I started with GE Johnson in 1986 as a carpenter's apprentice. I served a 4-year apprenticeship with GE Johnson and worked my way through the carpentry trades as a carpenter journeyman, a carpenter foreman, and then to a superintendent. And what a superintendent does in our industry is you oversee the entire project from a general contracting standpoint. So I was a superintendent for 25 years, and I've typically to come out of the trades, the skilled trades. The superintendent is kind of the pinnacle for the carpentry trades. And I was fortunate enough to work for a company like GE Johnson that allowed me to even go further, to become a leader of the company. And I work in our executive group as a construction manager, and I do contract negotiations with owners, and I do contract negotiations with subcontractors, and oversee a lot of great projects. The Summit Complex on the summit of Pikes Peak was one of my projects. The Olympic Museum, the new Switchback Stadium. So been fortunate to be involved with a lot of great projects here in Colorado Springs. So to come from the skilled trades, it's been a great career choice for me. So that's a little bit about myself.
Thank you so much, Tim. And I have been to the Olympic Museum, beautiful facility, but I've not been to the others, so I'll have to check them out and think about you when I go. The next professional that we have with us today is Paula Cantor, and she was in the skilled trades with the military and then took a quick jaunt over into STEM in the corporate side. Paula, tell us a little bit more about your career and your background.
Sure. So my name is Paula Cantor. I, at 19, joined the military. So I went into the United States Navy, where I was trained and trusted to repair to repair and perform maintenance on about a $3 million turboprop engine that went into the C-130s, the C-2s, E-2s, and P-3s. So if there's any military buff kids out there, that's the platforms that it went on. It was an Allison engine, but I then transitioned out, joined the National Guard, where I was also a heavy equipment operator and a recruiter, and then transitioned in engineering school, where I then found a career in engineering on the corporate side, still in aerospace. So I've spent about 25 years in aerospace.
How cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. And now I have two, but they are in one frame today. So I have two professionals who will be sharing with you a little bit more about their careers. We have Sean McCarthy, who is the president and owner of Handyman Connection, and then Brian Morin, who is a licensed master plumber with Handyman Connection. Gentlemen, would you please share with us your career paths?
Sure. Yeah, Brian, why don't you
Hi, I'm Brian Morin. Like she said, I'm a licensed master plumber. Been doing plumbing off and on for about 25 years. I've also done some of the other building trades, carpentry, framing, stuff like that. That's what I started in, and eventually moved on into the little more slightly skilled, I guess you would call it, plumbing side of things. And I lived up in Gunnison for a long time, which is on the west slope, and then moved here about 17 years ago. And I've been basically doing plumbing here, and I've worked for the present company, Handyman Connection, for about 16 years.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Brian. So my name's Sean McCarthy, and I am the current president and owner of Handyman Connection. My path to this company and opportunity started when I was in junior high or middle school / high school. I was fortunate to have been able to work for my father, who built houses. So I gained an interest and passion in home building at that time. He then threw me out, and I decided to go to college and got a degree in finance and became very interested in business and working with small businesses. So about 6 years ago, I was able to, I guess, marry the two and became the owner of this company at that time. And I'm very blessed to be working with a lot of skilled craftsmen like Brian in our company that go into homes, people's homes primarily, and do repairs, remodels, taking care of usually their most important asset. So it's been a lot of fun.
Very important, as every homeowner knows, very, very important to have a good handyman around. So I want to ask everybody, why do each of you think that is important for students to consider a career in the trades? Why might they consider a career in the skilled trades rather than going to college, knowing that they, could also always go back? And I think one or two of you have experience with all of those pathways. So as our high school students think about a career and as they think about graduation, as it comes up, what should they consider there? We can start with Brian. Brian, would you like to share?
Yeah, I just think it's a great question. And I wish now that I would have considered a little more when I decided to go from high school right into college. I feel like either route can be a good choice, but I didn't necessarily know at that time that, the trades were, as good an opportunity as getting a college degree. And for me, I was always better in the lab portion of the science classes that I was taking in high school and in college. So as I moved along through my career, I've gravitated towards more things like that, using my hands, using my skill and my thought process to figure out things in front of me, and not necessarily things that are in books or in situations like that. And although I think both are very important, and you will face a certain amount of study and testing in the trades depending on what you're going to do, but for me, the hands-on portion is what I was good at, and eventually what I ended up doing as a plumber.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anything to add, Tim?
Well, you bet. The trades just allow students like yourself to have another choice, and that's really what you need at this point in your life is a lot of choices and opportunities. And there's a lot of great opportunities going to college, going into the military, going into the trades and an apprenticeship program. And there's a lot of good apprenticeship programs out there in our state that allow you to earn a living and even decide what you may do later. So just keep that in mind, that you'll have choices all through your life. And a lot of times, like some of our panelists have even said, or even myself, you do one thing for a while and it leads you to something else, and then on to something else. And that's what makes up a complete career, is a lot of different things put together. So an apprenticeship program or the skilled trades are just another good choice for you to have.
That is such a good point, Tim. Thanks for sharing that with our students to think about. And I love the point that you make that in an apprenticeship program, you may also be paid alongside your training. So you're not going to find many other deals like that. And certainly with any four-year university, you're paying up front for your degree. So that's
Yeah.
an additional pathway. That's really great for our students to know about if four-year college is maybe not something that they're ready for or is a financial hardship. Do you want to add anything else to that, Paula, before we continue on?
Sure. So I will add that, I have a girlfriend that I was in the military with. She lives in New York City. She's an uh, electrical apprentice, and she makes just as much as I do as a mechanical engineer in corporate America and leadership. I always like to say someone has to build the house, someone has to repair the car, and someone has to maintain the planes or the equipment that people are using in their everyday jobs.
That's right. That's right. Someone has to build the houses. Someone has to fix the cars. Absolutely. Someone has to fix the aircraft equipment, which is definitely in your career path. Since we've already kind of touched on the topic, what are some of the ways to fund the education required in your field? Is there anything that anyone would like to add to that conversation? Why don't we go back to Tim? What do you have to add there?
Well, in working for a large general contractor like I do, there's a lot of ways in. A majority of the management here at GE Johnson went and got a 4-year degree in construction management or something of that sort. And there's a lot of colleges that offer a good construction management degree. But there's a lot of us as well that came through the trades like I did. I went through a VOTEC program in Colorado Springs here. I went to Manitou High School, and I went. I wanted to be an underwater welder, so I got my associate's degree in welding and metallurgy. And when I graduated high school, I had that in my toolbox, and I didn't use that because in the 80s, things were much worse economically than they are right now. There just wasn't a lot of good trades jobs out there. The interest rates were very high. So I think, I don't know, that really is kind of the sum of it. It's just getting there and having that ability to get in that trade and work your way into the company from those two different angles is what I would say.
Great. And anything to add there, Brian, about your path to your career as a master plumber and what the cost of that was and how you managed that?
Yeah, so with a plumber, you start out as an apprentice, and then once you get the amount of hours you need, which usually comes on the job, then you're able to take a test and become a residential plumber. From there, same thing, you are working on the job and earning a wage at that time. And then once you get enough hours, you test to become a journeyman and then eventually a master. And I think that's a good way to do it because the money that's required you're making in general working for another company, say like here at Handyman, when I was able to test for my journeyman or the test for the master, the previous owner sent me to school to prepare me to take my journeyman, and then Sean here paid for my classes up in Denver for me to take my master. So you're working, you're making money for yourself, and then also you're an asset towards the company. So they're able to fund the classes that are required to take the tests, and then it helps them as well as you when you get your licenses and progress in your career.
Absolutely. And especially in a high demand career. We've talked about that in other career panels as well. in financial services where your employer may pay for some of your licensure, but that's certainly something that's prevalent in the skilled trades and is a benefit to all employers. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Sean, to that in terms of the rest of your team and what kind of opportunities are available in education?
Yeah, no, I think it's what's really neat about skilled trades is what's already been said is that there's really a tremendous opportunity to learn your trade and your skill while at the same time having an opportunity, to earn a wage as well. And just maybe more of a personal comment, I think in today's society relative to going straight into college, there's a kind of an obligation to pay for that up front before you really know maybe how it's going to pan out for you. And again, like it's been said, I absolutely believe that, college education can be the right thing as well for folks. So I guess I'd sort of sum it up this way. I think it's hard to know when you're 16, 17, 18, exactly what you want to do. And so if there's an opportunity to spend a summer like I had to be able to just go and work and be a laborer and and then also pay attention in your classes, what really interests you, and then consider what your options are when you graduate. And even I'm a big fan of community college, for example, and maybe figuring it out there, and then I think it starts to crystallize for you as you mature. I don't know if that made any sense.
Absolutely. That makes complete sense. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Paula, about specifically going into the trades in a military profession?
Sure. But first, I'll touch on the corporate piece. There are many companies because of the demand for skilled trades in America today. There are companies that will pay you to basically learn the trade. They'll, again, kind of like Sean said, they'll actually pay for your schooling for you to go on and get an associate's degree. And then when you complete that, they'll actually give you a stipend or a raise for completing that associate's. For me, the military paid for my training. So they paid for my, I went through basic training, then they paid for my military school, they paid for my housing, everything that that you get in the military. I, had housing, meals. My job was to learn how to repair aircraft engines. But then I'll also say why I went into engineering is I was then given the GI Bill. So I paid into that every month. It was like $100. And that paid for me to get my engineering degree. And also I got an extra stipend because I went in at the time in the 90s, I went into a male dominated industry, which was aircraft maintenance. So I was able to get an extra $500 when I was going through my engineering school to get, instead of like $2,200, I don't know the exact amount, so don't quote me. I got an extra, I do remember an extra $500. So obviously the military is an option for people who may want to have a college degree, but they don't have the financial backing or don't want the huge student loan that comes along with getting a 4-year degree.
Yeah, I know that that's something, in speaking to a lot of our high school students, I know that that's something that they are really concerned of and really thoughtful around, is how to pay for education and how to progress in a career while being, financially responsible, which we as junior achievement really support as well. So is there anything else that that you all can see trends in hiring in your industry? How can students position themselves for a career in your industry? Maybe it's soft skills, maybe it's technical skills, classes they can take right now. What's that inside information? Let's start with Brian.
Yeah, again, I would just touch on the laboratory side of things. When I say that, I mean like the hands-on, the shop classes, where you're actually putting what you're studying into motion and not just test taking and stuff like that. I personally was never that great at taking tests. I felt like I just learned maybe a little bit differently, and it didn't really show up on test scores, but I always did really well on the physical part of that class, whether it be science or whatever else. So Yeah, I would just kind of explore and show your skills in that way. Because, with a skilled trade, that's mainly what you're going to be doing. Although obviously the engineering side of it and some of the other folks speaking, there's more to it than just being in the field. But, just kind of prepare yourself to use, your skill set and just show that to, if it's in school or whatever other kind of activities, so other people can see that, that you're demonstrating aptitudes in that areas.
Absolutely. So start as early as you can, work with your hands, really get an idea for what your interests are, and then jump in. I love that. Tim, is there anything you have to add there?
I think for the carpentry side and the carpentry training, the best practices would be, attitude, coming to work ready to go to work, and just being positive, is a I think with our younger apprentices and people that we have in that position, you're hired and your job is to learn and be trained in that discipline. So um, that's all we expect you to know at that point is just to be there and get that training. So having a good attitude about it and those kinds of things. And then additionally, for our apprenticeship program, one of our biggest struggles with our apprentices are just the basic math skills. People don't, when I was in high school, I didn't, I just thought, what do I need to know some of this for, right? Well, it's very important, and just getting in and having the basic, being able to convert fractions to decimals and things like that, from architectural drawings to engineering or to civil drawings and those kinds of things. So just really, other than that, that's all I would have to add.
Great. Have a good attitude. Those math skills, super important. So
Yeah.
pay attention in those math classes. All right, Paula, anything to add?
So I would say in aerospace, there is a huge push for manufacturing. I think that has to do a lot with just trends in global competitiveness. So I feel there's a huge push in just manufacturing alone within the aerospace. When you look at the major aerospace companies in the US, you've got Boeing, you've got some other suppliers, you have Raytheon is a US based, big defense contractor. So yeah, I would say the number one trend is really pushing manufacturing, and there are some sign-on bonuses for people going into skilled training, skilled jobs just for manufacturing.
That's good to know. So manufacturing, keep an eye on those jobs. All right. I want to make sure that we have time for student questions. So we'll start with those. We have some questions who have come on from students who are in the chat. So let's see. Sarah from Colorado Springs wants to know if it's difficult being a woman in the skilled trades. So Paula, unfortunately, we're going to pick on you again. And certainly, gentlemen, if you have anything to add, let's add that too. But we'll start with Paula.
So absolutely. So I started skilled trade. I started a skilled trade, obviously by accident. I've mentioned that. At the time, as an aircraft mechanic in 1995, when I first joined the military, I think of the aircraft mechanics that were trained by the US Navy, I was one of 3%. I see that continuously showing up in aerospace and even specifically in engineering. But I want to say one thing. I've learned to stop seeing myself as a woman at the table or in the conversation, and learn to see myself as a diverse experience and a diverse viewpoint. And I think that as long as you can see yourself as bringing a diverse experience to the table and not seeing it as you're a woman or you're a person of color or you're Asian American. But that alone, diversity is also socioeconomic. Diversity is where you grew up. Did you grow up in the city or did you grow up in an urban area? So I think the key word there is diverse experience and not seeing yourself as a woman. And I hope that answers Sarah's question, correct? That was her name?
Yes, Sarah. Sarah asked that question. And I think we've seen research that shows that diverse experiences lead to really dynamic and capable teams. So thank you for that comment, Paula. Is there anything that, sorry, go ahead.
I'll just add one more thing. And it also makes a company more profitable. When you have diverse experiences at the table, it makes you a more profitable company.
Great. I love that. Speaking to that, is there anything that Sean, in your position as president and owner, or Tim from GE Johnson, anything you want to add to that?
Sure. I'll quick comment. Yes, diversity is huge. And I think for our business, what is the most important thing is that the person who comes on board with us has the necessary combination of skill sets to be successful. So that's what drives the decision more than anything at all. And that includes skill, trade, that you've got the ability to complete the work, that you're able to interact with people, especially homeowners. So learn your soft skills there, learn to listen. I think that's super important. And then also, I think, if I may, kind of digressing a little bit, as you get into the trades and as you grow, I think the opportunity for you to become somewhat of a business owner increases as you look at potentially being a subcontractor, things like that. So any kind of diversity around a business type opportunity or class, it would be hugely important.
Great.
I digress, sorry.
You're absolutely okay. Anyone else have anything to add for that question? Thank you, Sarah, for that wonderful question. We have another question from a student. So Mike from Pueblo would like to know what he can do now to get ready for a job in the trades. So I think we've covered some things that students can do now. I think really diving into those math classes, maintaining a positive attitude. You talked, Sean, about soft skills. So making sure that you are listening. If you're in a residence and you are listening to the homeowner, you're going to be a lot more successful than if you miss something. Is there anything else that anyone would like to add? I will open it up to the group. If you would just like to add anything that students can do right now.
So
I would say, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would say just, try to figure out a little bit which trades that you want to be involved with, try it out a little bit. Whether it's carpentry, build a little shed or, a birdhouse even, or whatever. You want to be in something that's interesting to you, and then maybe, someone that could show you a little bit of plumbing or electrical, safely, obviously. And then kind of have an idea and, through trial and error, and figure out what you like the best, and then kind of concentrate on that.
Can I ask you a follow-up question, Brian?
Sure.
Why plumbing and not carpentry or electrical or HVAC?
You mean my career path, how I ended up
Correct.
in plumbing?
Yes.
I feel like although the carpentry aspect gave me a better understanding when I'm in like remodeling or something in someone's house, because I have a bit of understanding of the carpentry as well. What I can drill through a joist, and there's different aspects of that. But to me, it was just a matter of having a new project, because I'm primarily a service plumber. So having a new project to work on pretty much every day keeps things really interesting. I like the challenge of figuring things out for people and myself. It's just very rewarding. And although I still continue to do construction carpentry on my own, I really feel that the plumbing really suits me pretty well. And it was trial and error, but I wish I would have maybe figured it out a little sooner, but I mean, things happen the way they're supposed to, so it's okay.
Yeah, and I can see that side of it, being working with homeowners. They come to you and they have usually a pretty stressful problem on their hands, and you get to solve that for them, and usually in a day, right? So I definitely see that background. Absolutely. Anything to add to that, Paula? I know you had something to say.
Sure. So not to sell the military as a career in the skilled trade, but I will say that there is a component of joining the military, which is the ASVAB on the enlisted side. So it's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Even if you don't want to take it through a recruiter, pick up a book in the library or in a bookstore, or even I'm sure there's so many resources online now. Just take a sample one. It will tell you where you lie, whether it's mechanical aptitude, whether it's arithmetic reasoning, and it will just give you a baseline of where you're really strong at, and play to those strengths, and look at jobs or skills that need those as a strength. Again, mechanical aptitude, I scored like a 97 out of 100. So that's why the recruiter said, okay, you're going to go into aircraft maintenance. It was going to be a mechanic of some sort, most likely, looking back on it. But just look at an ASVAB, take a sample one that will give you where you lie on your vocational aptitude.
That's a great tip. Thank you so much for that, Paula. I did not know that. Before, I think we are a little over time, but we have time for a few more comments. Tim, if you would like to share.
Well, I would say, the construction industry right now is suffering through what we did over the last 20 years, and that was not pay enough attention to getting young people interested in the trades. A lot of the curriculum was tried to get kids to go to college mainly, which is a great choice, like I mentioned before. But industry, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, sheet metal working, the carpentry trade for a general contractor like us, everybody is hiring. Everybody is looking for quality people, and all you have to do is be ready to go to work. We have a 4-year apprenticeship program for carpentry, that you get 8,000 hours of on-the-job training. You have over 400 hours of classroom and lab training, and when you graduate, you have a federally recognized journeyman carpenter's certificate that you can take anywhere in the world and show somebody that you have that apprenticeship and you are a federally registered journeyman carpenter, and it will open a lot of doors for you. So just can't say it enough that our industry is really looking for good quality people, and we are constantly hiring. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really exciting, lots of opportunities in the skilled trades. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Brian, for your time with us today. Students and teachers, if you have any other questions for our panelists, please let us know. You can contact your local junior achievement representative. And thank you for joining us today. Have a wonderful day.